Let's review everything we learned by looking at some challenges involving strings. The first challenge is to write a program asking the user to enter a date in the format month, day, date, and then the 4-digit year. Then instead of printing the month in that format, print it in the European format where you list the date first, then the month, followed by the year. Before you start, create an IPO chart to help yourself plan the project. Give yourself a few minutes where you pause the video and try to think of the answer. First, let's think what should be input for this program. So we're going to need to ask the user to enter a date in the format with a 2-digit month followed by a 2-digit day followed by a 4-digit year. And we want the output for our program to be the date in the European format. So the date first, then the month, then the 4-digit year. And now we need to think about the processing steps that we need to take. Welcome the user to the program. We need to prompt for input of the date. Then we need to create the date in the new alternate format. And to do that, I'm going to need to pull out the 2 characters that represent the month and I'll also need to identify the 2 characters for the date. And then identify the 4 characters for the year. And then once I have those pieces of information, I can print the 2-digit date followed by a slash, should just be a literal value, followed by the 2-character month, followed by another slash, and then finally the 4-character year. So this is going to be my approach for the IPO. If you didn't write the Python for this particular project yet, pause the video now and try to translate these ideas that we captured in the IPO chart into Python code. In Python, our first step is to welcome the user to the program. And we want to follow that by asking the user to enter a particular date as a string. I'm going to use an input function. We want to print, we want them to enter the date in the month first, then the date, then the year. Awesome. And now I want to isolate just the 2 characters that represent the month. And remember, I can use the slice, that's one of the string operations, to isolate multiple characters from within a string. So I'm going to say that the month is equal to the positions within my date to convert string, starting at index 0. And then I want to stop before I get to index 2, because I just want the 2 values at index 0 and 1. So I will stop at index 2. Similarly, I'm going to isolate the characters for the day, and I'm also going to use a slice. And in this case, I want to start at position 0, 1, 2, 3. That's the index of my first character for the date. And I want to stop before character 5. I just want to get the values at position 3 and 4. Those are the 2 for the date. And then finally, the year is the values at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I want to go to the end of the string. I want to get the values at 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to put 10 here as my final value in my slice. And then once I have those values, I can print the day first, followed by the string literal slash, followed by the month, followed by the string literal slash, and then finally followed by the year. Or maybe I'll label that. And I use the concatenation operator here because all of my data values are strings. Everything that I'm printing out is a string value. However, if you wanted to use the commas in here, that would be great too. Both of those will work just fine because we have all string information. So ask me to enter a day. So 10, 12, 2020. And then it prints that out as the 12th of October, 2020. So our program successfully accomplished our goal. We printed the date in the other format. At this point, we've reviewed a lot of information about strings. We understand that strings are actually stored as lists of characters in Python's memory, and that we can write Python statements using input and output. We can use the concatenation operator, the multiplier operator, and the equality test to see if two strings are equal. We also know that we can treat the string as a list and isolate individual character values using the square brackets, just like we can in a list. We can understand that we can process strings using built-in functions that we typically think of being applied to lists, things like the length operator. Those work great on strings and allow us to figure out how many characters are in a string. We also know that we can process a string character by character using a for loop or a while loop that's count controlled. And those are useful if we want to be able to process things for certain algorithms, maybe for something like our palindrome example, or for something like the Caesar cipher example that's in one of the lab assignments, or you might get an upcoming project where you need to process a string character by character to perform some sort of checks on it. And finally, we know that we can convert string values from characters into integers if we need to do that in order to process the string effectively.